Hey, peace and
Yeah,
blessings.
yo. Morning. Top of it. Blessings. I'm just being honest, connecting with the Black experience. It's the most disliked popular guy, Barry Axius, with the goddess, the sunlight, the global, iconic, universally known Queen Mama Ro. What is happening, my beloved?
You know what? A lot's happening, but in a good way, in a very good way. Sometimes it pays to keep your nose to the grindstone.
What break that down?
While all this shit is happening, you like, I really wasn't there. Like, I was on my post. I really don't care about the politics stuff. Even though I'm putting together a political show right now with some Black conservative Republicans and some independent person that jumped in from the Green Party, and but it's just kind of like I just think Black folks got to have more of a diverse conversation. We love that term diversity, but we don't see Black folks as being diverse. So to me, that's always pretty. And we love.
Why do you say that?
I think that we still believe in some kind of monolith, and the signs are everywhere that we're clearly not the same people. Like we're just, everybody don't cook their greens the same shit. Some people don't even eat greens. I mean,
what do you mean? You don't wait, hold on. You don't cook your greens with pork.
No, I made some vegetarian greens this weekend, and they were slamming. I had pissed up in there. I was like, oh my God. Like I didn't even realize, that you could make stuff like that without the turkey and all that kind of stuff. So we clearly not the same, Barry. We clearly are not the same. So I guess Barry gonna jump back in here. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Clearly what I'm talking about. So we're gonna talk about a lot of that stuff today. So Barry's gonna jump back on the line, so give him just a minute. But I don't know. I'm dying to hear what people think about a lot of things that's going on in the world. Like what's really, really happening with us as a people. How are we really faring with the politics? And what's our plan no matter who gets back in? So whether if it's Donald Trump or whether if it's Joe Biden, like I just haven't heard the Black people's plan. I don't know if there is one or not. But it would be nice to know what that plan is. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about Labor Day, and do Labor Day have any meanings for any of us? Do we celebrate Labor Day? I know I labored in my house getting some work done, but I mean, other than that, I just kind of wondered, what does that mean to us, if it means anything? Hold on, I'm trying to get Barry back in here, y'all. So hold the phone up in here. Hold the phone up in here. So there's a lot of, there we go. So he should be getting back in here in a minute. So there's a lot of different things that we're going to talk about today on Just Being Honest, connecting with the Black experience. And I hope that you all will chime in. There's so many things going on in the world, but I know for myself over the last week, I kind of produce other people's shows, but I took a break from the shows that I do. Because I'm in the midst of doing a bunch of other stuff. And so sometimes it pays to take a break. But I'm also talking with people about producing more shows for other people, because I think that that is really important to hear the voices, and not just my voice all the time, but I think it would be good to hear Black folks in our diversity. I'm very big on that word when it comes to Black people. So I want to hear from the different types of Black people. Yesterday, I went to a dinner with some elders from Ghana, and we sat at the table, and sometimes you see things that are just the way we do it, and then sometimes they'll do things, the way that they do it. And it don't mean that we can't be folks or have mutual respect, but it was beautiful to see that diversity even within their culture, because they was breaking down what all the different ethnic groups were. Okay, here come Barry. Man, Barry, I miss you. I had to do that pretty out.
What happened?
You turned something and you went off. I was like, okay, maybe
the technical difficulties, and unfortunately, the powers that be, doing what they do. So you was talking about greens. You probably done sat there and broke everything down, but I feel you.
No, I was just saying I just made vegetarian greens that didn't have no meat in it, and they were slamming, like
Okay.
slamming. So, because my nieces are coming in town today, and they're vegetarian. You know what I mean? So I said we try it. I made some lasagna, vegetarian, delicious. I made some green. I'm using my crock pots. Crock pot do all the magic, really. But
crock pots have been a wonderful thing in my life. Especially in these times and these days. I don't know. I just think that with all that's going on, you try to take all the positive to line it up to shield the negative, but it just seems like we are in this constant replay of negativity, right? Like, I don't know. It just seems like it's a rotation of protest here due to police brutality, folks that are behind closed doors, doors wide open. You see how racist they are. There's an incident with this mayor from Mill Valley. Her name is Sasha, that she basically said Black lives don't matter here in Mill Valley. Yeah.
Is she of color?
She's not white, so I believe she's Indian. But the proximity to how they get down and how they feel about us, which I always think.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Which I always think is very particular, because I dated a lot of Indian girls back in the day, especially when I was living in Marin, and their fathers didn't like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, hands down, they didn't like me, even though I feel like they participated in some of the dissension of Black people, but we're not going to talk about that. But at the same particular time, you would hope and think, because we're so jointly connected, that it would be a different kind of relationship. But again, the proximity to so many of these people that are non-color, like you and I and other individuals, always have them biting to more of the Caucasian European kind of ideology. So you got this young lady, and she's young. She's not an older woman, but here she is in June talking crazy, and she's the mayor. So I think one of the things that I feel like often doesn't get addressed when we're dealing with everything, it's so easy to point out police brutality, police terror, police murder, right? That physicalness of watching it and seeing it and be like, oh, snap. That's the thing we have to solve in America. Doesn't talk about the systemic and systematic things that have created the climate that we're currently in. The reason why police don't get reprimanded is because a system full of racist policies and policies that help protect them are never in line with getting the proper consequences, getting the proper transparency, getting the proper accountability, and the proper justice. So it all lines up to a system, right? So I think that we often direct all our energy to, like, police. We got to defund, abolish, but it's overall a system that helps them operate with this immunity where they don't have to worry about too much of anything. And it goes to show, when you have politicians like this young lady, who you would think in this new modern era that we thought was more racially equipped to understand that we all got to get along, but she continues to look at it and does not see it. And she's speaking to her base. Because mind you, she ain't going to say what she's not going to say unless her base supports it behind closed doors, or her origin, her family lineage feels the same exact way, like you Negroes is expendable. And I think that oftentimes, for me, what frustrates me about Black people is, like, y'all got to realize that half of the world really don't like us. You know what I mean? Like, most these folks, and even in a simple fact, I think that a lot of people get upset to really realize that the base of overall everything that's become what we know as this global world has come from Africa. So that attachment to, like, Negroes, and I feel like sometimes it's because a lot of the times we show a little bit of weakness, because technically, I think that we bow down and we are too passive too often. We don't show our strength in a way that we really could to say, you know what, we're done playing games. Y'all are children. It's time to put y'all in check. So it's kind of like we submit to the masses. But reality is a lot of folks know the origin, and the origin comes from us. And I think that's a smack in folks' face. You know, no one wants to hear who's number one and who started it. I mean, you know, the first always is better than the last. So I think that sometimes when you look at all these things happening, especially there in good old Marin County, where I've been often able to come back as one of my things that I've always wanted to do, because I've known the racism over there. Of course, you and Javon have done some great work over there in Marin City, but we know like these places where white people and other folks feel they can isolate themselves and not deal with black people should give black people an idea. Why are we struggling and trying to push ourselves on people that don't want to do nothing with us? That's why I've always said a separation helps understand for me as a black person how much I'm more valued if I'm more focused on dealing with my people and not dealing with anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Barry, I hear you. You hear that echo?
Not now.
Okay. I got back up. Okay. So what I want to say is, I hear it. Hold on. Let me just make sure we're good. You go like that. Maybe that's better. Okay. So good morning, Dr. Goodrich. I didn't know you were in Mississippi. Shout out to you. I think, Barry, the other part to this is that's why it pays to study. And depending on your lineage, it's going to look different. So for me, when I see the others here, I don't believe in the term of color. I just think you call people what they are. In India, they have something called the caste system. The caste system. And that is, the caste system is the light is on top, the dark is on the bottom. You will rarely see walking around two very dark melanated Indians married to each other because they can't move up in the caste system. Now, black people, we have the caste system too. So yesterday I watched that RNC. I watched a little bit of that because of where I was. And when I looked at the speakers for that RNC, they were pitch black people. A black woman with braids in her hair, chocolate as hell. The man, chocolate as hell. Beard brother, straight up, he can't pass for nobody else. I thought to myself, Barry, why are they on the RNC? Why we don't see beautifully black melanated people like that in the other parties? You know, so when you tell me about an Indian woman, none of them have allegiance to us. They weren't here when we were enslaved people. Hell, they got slavery in their own goddamn country. It's called the caste system. Why should she really care about us? And for me, that's why I think studying and knowing your history will solve a lot of this shit. You can move differently in your life if you understood the history. Our ancestors in America did not make it this far by begging white people, by asking people who were lynching them to, please don't lynch me. Like, no, they had a different way of dealing with each other, and they didn't have all the education that we had. They didn't have access to all of these resources that we have. What they did rely on was each other. It's called human capital. They relied on each other. If they really thought the panty rollers, the police was out to kill them, they didn't call them because they had a system that they worked with each other on. We haven't gotten there, Barry, because now we have the others, and the others' job is to make black people's issues act like it's not an issue because they're here. They're here. So, you know, that has nothing to do with us. We weren't enslaved here. We're here for the American dream. A man told me yesterday, I went with some Ghanaian elders' house. It was absolutely awesome. And we were talking about history and genealogy, all kinds of stuff. And he said, I know what happened to you all as I studied, you know, my time. He's very educated. He said, and I cry every time I hear your story. He goes, but isn't it interesting that a lot of us are begging to get here, and it's not easy to get to America from where they are in Africa? He said, and so the fact that your ancestors came through that very harsh and brutal and rough conditions to be in America, you're here. So what do you do with that? Everybody's trying to get to America to have the American dream, and you're already here. What does that mean? And now, those are things we don't really want to talk about, because that means now you have to get off your ass. You got to quit acting like you some white kid. So you want to be treated like white people, but white people work. They work at keeping this system together. America is what, 400, 500 years old or whatever from its first conception, and they are still on top. So don't tell me that they young people aren't connected to the old people. Don't tell me that, because that would be a lie. Because they have a system sustain itself with the same principles, meaning that they are attached.
Hold on a second. Go run that back again.
Which
about
one?
the attachment.
The attachment, I'm saying that, we like to say, like, I want to be treated like white people. But what we don't get with that statement, Barry, is that white people, we just see the privileged part of them. They have to work at maintaining this system. They are attached to their root, to their history. So in America, we know that, white people, in order to keep whiteness valuable, they have to be attached to those old values. You know what I mean? Like, we still celebrating the first black anything in 2020. That's a problem. The hell, we still celebrating the first whatever. Dude, you built the place. How much more credit would you like to have? And what do you get with credit? Because you can't build shit with it. You can't build Nathan with that. So it's the attachment. And so I think when we rely on so-called people of color, which is a bad term, black folks, it's bad, because all the people of so-called color don't give a shit about our ancestors who built this country. They don't care about what we're going through. In their country, they all have caste systems. They all have caste systems. And you know what? Quiet as it kept, Barry, so do black people. We got caste systems. Every time I look at successful black people, we know that they're married to a white person or a biracial person, or come on. We know that already. So there's a caste system here. So why would this Indian woman care about black people? Why? Why do we make an assumption that she has melanin and somehow her experience may be the same? Why do we do that? Why do we do that?
I mean, you going in, sister. I mean, dang.
Hey, Jay. No, but I think sometimes we be sleep with that, Barry. Oh, they're black like us. You go to India, they're called the untouchables. Those are the people who look like you and I. They can't get shit. They can't get no kind of pool. But then we see them over here. We're going to say, no, we're not. When we look at other so-called minorities or people of color, check out their country's history. And then equate the black people in it, the darkest of the people in it. And then tell me if they still our friend. When Arabs are talking about being discriminated against, I'll be like, welcome to America, player. Welcome to America. But you over here doing the same shit to us. But now that you're a target, now you want me to help you. Really, my nigga? Really?
Well, I think that you bring a very valuable point. I hear the echo too, just to let you know.
Okay, see, I tried to control the echo. Get on my hand, because everything I got to shut down. Do you have anything else on over there, Barry?
No.
Okay. All right, keep going.
Okay. I think that for me, what you brought up was such a great point, and what I've been advocating on often. You stop Negroes using people of color, diversity, multiculturalism. We do not line up in any of those groups. And if we do, when we do, we are the last to get anything, right? Because an Asian, a Latino, though a lot of it creates this idea functionally that our struggle is all the same. And true, it should be, all right, it should be, because we should all be fighting against a supremacist system. It should. We've all been duped by white folks, but the reality
but we
is,
all haven't, Barry.
Well, here's what I'm saying, sis. The reality I'm seeing is that the proximity for them being lighter skinned, an Asian person, if they really wanted to, they could go ahead and put Caucasian. Got what I'm talking about? I, as a black person, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to put Caucasian or anything else but black. They have this relationship that's different than ours. And I feel like, for me, that when it's convenient for them, yeah, they're with the struggle. Maybe a few of them jump on. But we are constantly being bombarded with shit after shit after shit. Like, sis, what frustrates me about this whole thing, we are in 2020. We are in a pandemic. And we are dealing with just as much amount of racism as our ancestors have dealt with, and I'm just going to say in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's not as harsh. It's not as harsh, but systemically, the shit kind of, you know what I'm saying, balances out. When we look at this type of shit, it's kind of like, well, what the hell are we waiting for? You know what I mean? Like, why are we in this idea that someone is going to come fix this thing? So, because a lot of these people that are showing their racist ways are very young. It ain't just the old grandpa that was, you know, born in the 40s. It's like their siblings. It's their offsprings. It's these young people. I just got an incident in Roseville. A young lady reached out to me in Roseville at Top Golf, right? A place that niggas want to go. We want to go golfing. We want to all be like Tiger Woods. She goes to Top Golf, minding her own damn business. White boy, you know, younger white boy, adult white boy, goes and starts saying, Black Lives Matter, right? And, you know, she's all, yeah. And then he said something disrespectful, something racist. Then, you know, she was defending herself, and then it was the N-word was flying out that white boy's mouth like it was a, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a thing to do. At this establishment, Top Golf in Roseville, this was happening to this lady with her 3 black children. And a 13-year-old black boy is being called the N-word, and now he's being called the N-word. He's realizing all the things that are currently happening. Like, this is our society. This is what frustrates me about our society, how we act as if Donald Trump brought this shit in. Only thing he did was allowed everyone to be more comfortable with being as racist as they wanted to be. That's all he did. That's all he really did. And to me, again, that's why it says we have to have our own shit. Because, see, I don't go to a lot of protests in certain areas because I'm not the type of Negro, I'm not there yet, where if there's a whole bunch of white boys telling me some shit, that I'm not going to react in a way. I'm not on no peaceful MLK shit. I'm going to react because I first know, white boy, with all these police, you know, you and we could get it in. But I'm not going to kind of deal with that barrage of racism. But the core of America is racist. And that's truly what folks have to identify with. You go to these areas that's more populated with white folks, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to be welcoming? They build into the stereotypes that they see on TV that we perpetuate oftentimes. They believe the history books that they're taught, that Negroes came in here, we were dumb, we were savages, and they had to control us and maintain us as they properly asked us, hey, let's help build this country together. Like, they don't understand the savagery. And for those who do understand the savagery, they're okay with it. They feel they're a dominant society. They're a dominant culture. So they're all right with all of the stuff that belittles and all of the stuff that has kept black people down for all these numerous years, decades. So they're okay. So when you see all of this racist shit happening, the system supports the racism. Because if I were, and this is no disrespect, but for my LGBTQ folks that are listening, don't get at me, but I'm just saying here are the differences. If I was to go say faggot, gay motherfucker, and all these gay slurs, now that would be taken to a more critical degree in defense, and I would be bombarded with he's homophobic, so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'd probably be banned. But now, you often say the N-word, all someone has to say is something derogatory about black people. I apologize. Top Golf said to the young lady, well, we donated to Urban League. Like, what's that supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? And the funny part about
it, that they got your apology.
Exactly. In other words, what they're saying is, well, we're already giving to one black organization, knock it off. Well, to be honest with you, not all black organizations, especially the older ones, do the same kind of work. Like, a lot of that work don't reach into the people that we often have to talk about, or often we reach by our own hand. So let's be very clear that just because you donated to the Urban League or a Black Lives Matter organization or NAACP, that doesn't mean that it all of a sudden is going to trickle down to a whole bunch of black people. That's just not reality. So you hear these things, and we focus so often on policing. And I'm here to tell my black people, the policing is like clearly not the issue, though it is a big issue. The issue is the system. How do you dismantle that? How do you create those systemic changes within a system? And I don't think you really can, because these people aren't bound to do that. For what? Why are they looking at black people? Why are we going to do that? Oftentimes, black people are just as scared as black people as anyone else. That's how some of these laws and these rules got regulated. It wasn't just because all white folks, because here's the thing. When you talk about the three strike law, niggas wasn't robbing Beverly Hills. Niggas wasn't out there in the Hamptons. You know what I'm saying? That's a rare occasion. A nigga will get out there and do some stick up shit, whatever the hell like that, terrorize these communities. They're terrorizing their own. So we just want to make sure the inmates stay in their jail confine. We don't want them to come pass go. So it's oftentimes black people support those things because they look at enforcement as a way to help them control black people as well, or to bring some type of law and order. So we all come from this idea of law and order. The unfortunate part is the idea that black people have adopted. Law and order has always been a European lens, and that's a slave lens. So we got to be very careful and very clear when we create these laws. These laws never support us, but black people are involved with pushing it because they hear the cries of black people saying we want crime to come down. Black people don't want to live around a bunch of killers. Whoever thought and whoever said that was our ideal place to be. We don't. We want safety just like another person. But it oftentimes, the direction of the safety, it kills our community 10 times than it would ever kill anybody else's community. I drive through communities that are more extravagant, or the more cleaned up than the communities that we often work in. And I barely see police patrolling there. I go to our community, you can see a police, it's almost kind of like a string of them. Mm-hmm. As well as, and you're right, Queen, but as well as us involved in that, the crack epidemic also came with a lot of violence. So it was just as, and that's what I'm talking about. The violence of the crack epidemic. I mean, it was unseen, and a lot of black people living in these communities were terrified. So, you have terror, you have fear, you sell it all the time, and it's like, let's put more laws. That's why I often look at it like, why not defund the police? Because the police are only terrorizing black communities anyway. They're not terrorizing white communities. You know what I mean? Like, oftentimes, white folks will be able to figure out their little shit. Black people, we're like in this rat race. So we say defund the police as we want to have more resources involved in reshaping, reimagining, recreating our communities. We don't need to be over-policed. No other communities over-police. Why do we need to be over-policed? We need services. We need sustainable plans. We need, a creation where we can create jobs and opportunity for people. Like, you can't service your way out of poverty, my OG said, and that's just the fact. But oftentimes I think that we don't hit the mark. Again, sis, like you said, we're afraid, and I think we just don't realize when we put ourselves in these kind of we put ourselves standing behind these labels of multiculturalism, people of color. I think that's to our biggest deficit as well. and not knowing historically other folks' history as in compared to our own history.
Right on, right on. I also think that, and I agree with everything you said. I also think that we gotta look at our own diversity, because depending on where you were standing at in a lot of this stuff, some Black people need the police. See, I'm not one of those anti-police people. I'm not gonna front. Somebody breaking my house, I'm calling the goddamn police. You know, I'm not gonna be trying to negotiate with somebody coming in when I know that over 600 and something Black women and children now, young girls, have been murdered at the hands of Black men. This is not the time to do let's all be Black and be unified, and my life is on the line. See, that's gotta stop. That's why everybody's not going with the defunding the police. Some people need the police, because the sad thing, Barry, is much organizing as we do, and we got more Black organizations and everybody's starting a nonprofit. Most of these people have no accountability to the people they claim they want to help. Black people, for some folks, it's like a meal ticket. You know, we want to help you get some food. Nigga, we can always get food. Do something like police our community. I may holler at you. But if you come in to do the same shit somebody else is doing because you think you can do it better, that sound like some pimp shit. That sound like some crack 80 shit. Like, I'm gonna push more shit weight through this neighborhood than the last dude that was here. That kind of sounds like that. But to talk about self-government, because what other communities don't have in common with our community, they ain't dealing with as much shit as we're dealing with, because they still have some kind of law that reigns true for them. You do some shit, the street's gonna be talking for real, and people gonna respond for real, because everybody kind of know there's a law that they've been able to come up with. There's a law. I mean, a law like within their community. Most of us don't even belong to the same people, Barry. Most of us don't have the same moral standing. Most of us we don't value the people in the community. They are seen as commodities, kind of like slaves. We don't value each other. And so we get really mad when somebody pull that out and be like, well, dude, we've been doing this for a minute. Our ancestors did it. And I can never compare my struggle right now to any of my ancestors, because I get to sit in my living room and do a goddamn podcast. I am not out in the field. I've been doing a lot of DNA ancestry in my own life. My grandmother was a migrant worker. I did not know that. She picked cotton. She picked fruit down in Florida. Ain't no way in hell I compare. She's a descended up a slave woman from South Carolina, because they Gullah Geechee. So when she left, those were the jobs she can get. So there's no way in hell I can compare Donald Trump to any of them racist ass white people who supported the system of slavery. But what I can do, Barry, is take some really good lessons. Like, some of us gotta go now. And we really gonna go for freedom. I don't want no friendly devil, that's not gonna call me a nigger to my face to be my representative because I'm scared to death. I don't want that. I'm okay with Donald Trump. I can fight clearly. Now I know clearly who my enemy is. I don't want no more so-called people of color dressed up like she's not my reparations. She's not going. We had a Black man as president and he could not help us do shit. I'm not a special group, so I'm not a gay, lesbian, a transgender, none of that. I'm not an immigrant. We're from right here. We worked the Sea Islands. We worked Virginia in slavery. So I don't belong to none of those special groups. So no, I'm gonna need somebody that when we get in this fight, I clearly know that this person is my enemy. And I'm not to expect nothing from this person. Like, my ancestors didn't expect nothing from this country when they was fighting for their freedom. And that's not a popular stance, because most Negroes is scared. Most Negroes don't want to do no work. Most Negroes want to sit at a desk. Most Negroes want to tell people what to do, but don't do it their damn self. Most Negroes can't even educate their own kids. You had the perfect opportunity to homeschool your kids. You still got that opportunity. But you know how many Negroes was crying for their kids to be back in school because they couldn't handle their own products that they birthed out of their body, that they brought onto the planet? But then you complain about teachers not caring about your kids, but you don't care enough to school your own kids. There's enough stuff online that can help you with your kids to learn.
Great time not to be a parent.
No, God. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I love our people, but I'm trying to make sure that nieces and nephews and people that's going to be in times I'm never going to see, that they have more options, that they know that do for self is not just a goddamn slogan. That means you must do it yourself. Because other groups are here doing it themselves. And I know other people, like, we got all these things thrown at us. I get it. But our ancestors jumped over that shit and they had chains on their feet. What's your excuse?
What you mean? The excuse is change, Negro. What are you talking about?
What?
Chains ain't been broken. We got the same damn chains.
No,
You know that?
No. We got the chains that we put on ourselves.
Exactly.
They're really not there, Barry. Our ancestors didn't have no damn internet.
They're there because I'm gonna tell you right now, since everything you say is spot on, and I got the fan. Yeah, thank you, Queen. Yeah, Queen, exactly. It's not about. Again, let me be very clear.
I get you.
Defund the police ain't about what these other niggas want to talk about abolish. We can't abolish the police. How? Because as I tell niggas every day, and this is what the funny part about it, as much as Negroes love to sit there and talk shit about it, I am one of the only Negroes that is constantly on my job into doing what folks don't want to do, policing our own. I'll go back to January. The shit that happened over there at the barbecue, Slam Barbecue, right? When the pedophile little Negro was going after the 12-year-old. And I heard there's a law now that's kind of legalizing some of that pedophilia.
Yes, my nephew told me about that. Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, a few folks, your sister was out there with me. I had, you know, some of my soldiers, right? But it wasn't a group of black men saying, let's take down this barbecue spot. And right then and there, we shut that shit down. That shit was like, no, Negro, you're not going to be doing business over here no more. The social media campaign I put was epic, and here we are. The latest killings of black women. I mean, besides a few sisters speaking on it, Barry Axius stepped to the plate, makes it known and makes it seen. So it's like, to me, sometimes it's like, well, shit. Can I get some help here besides getting criticized? Can y'all come help a brother out instead of criticizing some Facebook fucking post that I put? That's the problem with Negroes nowadays, is we want to criticize everything somebody does, but not want to do it ourselves. Or I don't really like that person, so I'm not going to show up. Well, then motherfucker, do something about the problems that we have. We are not ready at all to police our goddamn selves, because what you said earlier, like, shit used to not fly in our community. Bottom line, period. I would not be able to, as a black person, even go about disrespecting my elder, an elder of some kind, and not be chin checked by one of the OGs or like, hey, youngster, come over here. I wouldn't be able to have frequent babies being killed. I just read about another 8-year-old killed in Chicago. Like sitting in the car.
I got 2 3-year-olds that was murdered by black men. Two 3-year-olds.
So, I mean, these type of things were unheard of back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we are no longer in that this idea approach of policing and governing our own. Even when we're doing wrong, it's almost like we need the white man to come. It was so funny, sis. We were at a protest. And there was this white boy, right? White boy was really harmless, but his sword wasn't, right? I mean, and when I say that, he wasn't a white boy like you're like, okay, this motherfucker might really understand how to use that sword. He's just a white boy with a skateboard, lanky. He's probably on social media all day. He's probably got some medical ailments. He doesn't really know how to hoist this big, I'm talking about, and I've talked about it before, it's this big He-Man, Master of the Universe sword, Lord of the Rings sword. Now, a sister came, pepper sprayed him, that gave us the opportunity to do what we needed to do. We made sure everybody was safe, backed them up. A black person in the crowd was like, where's the police? Police, where you? Like, I'm like, what the hell? I said, hey, we don't need a motherfucking police. But see, that's the kind of conditioning that we have. We automatically like, yo, Let's bring the police. I'm like, no, we gonna handle this situation because the police come, they be done shot us. You know what I'm saying? In this situation, and we don't even have a sword. So as we've been able to back up folks, keep folks safe, and then the police come and ask us, you know, I'm already calm. Hey man, this is what happened. You know, get your people. That whole idea that as soon as trouble comes, we got to call the police. We have to have alternatives to that. And I don't believe, especially in places like Sacramento, that we're ready for that. It sounds good, but how many niggas is ready to be on their job? Because right now, we don't have a paycheck for Negroes to sit there and get if they police their community.
Yeah, right on.
You know what I'm saying? We just don't. Because if Negroes go out there and police their community, who paying us? We doing that part. We doing off our own grit and our own truth. And I think that Negroes are too, their hands are too dirty in some of this stuff that it becomes, well, shit, I can't really take down Pookie. Why? Me and Pookie sat there and we did a little robbery the other week. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? I think that we just have to really start realizing, in order for us to abolish police, defund, take some of them resources, reinvest that in communities that are needed, and also get rid of these racist, white supremacist police officers that are all funneled in policing all over. Because remember, the origin of policing is slave catching, right? You know, we turn that around. I feel like then we can start really looking at this situation for real change, and the status quo to no longer be the status quo.
I agree, Barry. I agree. I just feel like
Javon said, if we have courage and love to protect our black women, we could curb some of this. And you know, Queen, I believe that's facts. We don't have enough black men, you know, out there protecting black women. But I often also want to say, black women, be mindful of where you go and ask for protection. And you can't sit there and go someplace, create something, start yelling where all the black men who protect black women, where they at. You can't do that shit.
Well, Barry, look, I ain't disagreeing. But I have to say this though. I feel like in Javon's comment, I do think that we do have to have some courage. So we've always had crime, but in the black community, it used to be a rule to that. Like women and children were off limits. Elders were off limits. Like we're gonna always have racist ass white people, because racist ass people are in every fiber of this country. Like that's why America is still standing. But what I've seen historically is that black folks always had a way to work around people. Like there was a time where black women checked their sons. Now we support them when they murder somebody. We got 50 million excuses for why they did it, including them not being a part of it somehow. It was the system made your son into whatever he is, but he's been with you all this time. So, you know, I just feel like when for me as a black woman, because I can't really speak for the black man, some of this stuff with the black man has everything to do with the black woman. You know, my mother had sons and they never been to jail, never did no kind of shit ever. They love my mother so much. They would never disgrace her. They would never do any of that. It don't make them a special kind of people. There are a lot of black men who value their family, that they wouldn't treat a woman any kind of way. They don't give a damn. But my mother had to also sacrifice a lot of things so that we all could have that moral compass as we roll in the world. So we don't have the right to say, well, it's this. My mom didn't believe in excuses. That's why I don't believe in them. I can't say, well, the reason why, I'll be like, I did it. How can I fix this? Like, or whatever. But I would never say, well, it's the system. We didn't even have that goddamn word in our house. My mother was the ultimate system. We had to deal with her if some shit went down. And we did not want to do that because she worked hard for us.
Well, I have to say this. I have to say it is a system in this way. There's no value system.
Well, of course. But that's why people leave. That's why people leave black folks. When I looked at the RNC and seen those chocolate ass black people, and what I hear them say, no matter what the hell we think about them, and I'm not a Republican, no matter what we think about them, what I hear people say is there's a shared value there. They ain't talking about the value of what we see as racist, because the Democrats are just as fucking racist. They just smile in your face while they're screwing you. But they'll say family values. They'll talk about all of these core characteristics that black people think somehow we don't get to have that because of our circumstance. Get the hell out of here. Poor black people have always had more morals historically than other groups. We've always had more morals.
And I feel like that becomes a part of rites of passage, value system. You know, like it just the elder and you know, being able to you know, provide knowledge or some kind of something for that younger person to take and mobilize or you know, do what they need to do. And I feel like oftentimes we're led astray. We're in so much of this infighting and we just don't address it because it's too hard for us to address. Because once you really look at this whole thing, like, again, if we addressed our own trauma, if we addressed our own pain, if we addressed us believing that we were insignificant in so many different ways before we address why America looks at us as being insignificant, we would be able to do a lot of things without even having to beg, borrow, cry, ask, and plead for certain rights. I believe the value system has been eroded from our own system. And I think that by itself, for the fact that we have to say Black Lives Matter and create that, now we've created a chant, we've created this idea that now white folks mock. And that's why, again, I never really wanted that to be the standard bearer catchphrase, Black Lives Matter, watching folks walk around with shirts, Black Lives Matter. No, motherfucker, Black Power matters. I'd rather hear a white boy say, yeah, Black Power matters. Yeah, motherfucker, you know what, dude? You know what I'm saying? Besides black, it's almost a mocking thing because in lives, well, if we don't value it ourselves, they're going to mock it like, oh, get the hell out of here with that. I'd rather it be like, you already know what it is. I'm coming for you. Black power, yes, I'm coming for you. And for us to get mixed up in this idea of Black lives, where before it was Black power, it was before us doing for ourselves. I don't understand. We keep on running into the same freaking burning house. Hold on, son. But we keep voting for people who will continue to tear down our value. And again, Queen she's on fire right now. We keep voting people that will continue to tear us down because we don't even know the value of our vote, because that becomes a part of everything. We don't know the value of our vote in an idea of leverage, not in an idea of happy-go-lucky, but an idea of leverage. Go ahead, sis.
There's one group who don't even vote like that. And they own 7 out of 10 homes in California is owned by them. They don't even vote like that. And they own they own a lot of America. And they don't even vote like that. You know, I feel like if you got to tell somebody something, that means it ain't true. Because people see how valuable you are by the way that they interact with you. You cannot like Jews, but you will not fuck with them. You cannot like them. You can call them bloodsuckers. You can call them all kind of shit. But you will respect their game at the end of the day because they can make you disappear.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that.
Yeah, but they don't have to have a shirt that says Jewish people matter. Jewish power. They don't need none of that shit.
But Jews are in the political realm as well, though, sis.
But that's not what controls them. That's not what controls them.
But they are in the political realm.
We haven't had a Jewish president yet. But yet it's billions of dollars. And not because they're all in politics, Barry.
But they're all in politics in other ways. They're in local politics. We have a Jewish mayor.
Barry, you can talk till your head is blue. What I know about Jewish people has nothing to do with politics. They have a standard that they live by.
I'm not disputing that.
They will not be out here defending a Nazi. They will not be out here saying, well, they're not as fit. Anytime, they never look at them like, well, they were harmless. They never look at that. Even if you talk like you say some shit, they be like, we got to watch that person.
Okay, but I'm not disputing that.
We don't do that.
I'm not disputing that, Queen. But what I am saying that, again, just like with the Asians don't have to deal with this idea of people of color. But you know what they do? Because they're so strategic, they'll be like, oh, yeah, we are the people of color. So whatever leverage we can get with that, even though we don't need it, we're going to use it. So what I'm saying is there are Jewish people in politics, and a lot of their funneling comes from a lot of the lobbying. So we understand the power, how it progresses. But the simple fact, I agree with you on this point. Black people, we don't have the value of understanding the chess play and the chess moves. We're too emotional. and we're too emotionally bound. We watch this boy Nick Cannon go from powerful black man to Negro simp. That special
Negro
Negro.
who's falling out when he makes fun of black culture. You think I really give a fuck about what happened to Nick Cannon with his turban and shit? I don't really care. That's what I mean. These are figureheads. Jewish people don't be up on the figure like that. They're the person moving the strings, player. And they didn't. When they talked about building of Hollywood, no matter what you think about it, those Jewish men had a plan to control imagery. We're happy with the first Negro. We just happy to be on there doing like this. They like, we want to control the person who does like that. That's power. And that didn't necessarily come from politics. It was their own inner politics of their community that they said never again. Never will we be at the bottom.
What I'm saying is, but I'm not saying, but you got what you're here. I'm not saying in the sense of it's only politics. I say they also are in it. That's what I mean. They're covering all bases. That's what I'm saying. We cannot, that's the important part of their strategy, right? A lot of these folks, they don't have to even worry about a majority of the stuff that we have to worry about, but just in case, we gonna cover all bases because we making sure we got all eyes peeled and all eyes on all things concealed. We just don't do that as a people. And I don't think that, and to me, it would have been a strong stance. Again, the Negro, the special Negro with the turban, I think he's an ass clown as well. That's why we didn't need him. I mean, sis, we didn't need him to be. I like when he started turning on this macho black shit. When he started turning on this macho black shit, I was like, come on, Nick, just be who you are, dog. We don't need you to. Like, we don't need you to do all this newfound, I'm black, I'm putting a turban. Because if you don't stand on it when it's time to stand on it, Negro, you will never be able to be legitimate in my eyes ever again. And of course, when the pressure came, he's giving money to Jewish synagogues. When he was out here in Sacramento,
he shouldn't have talked shit about him.
Listen, when he was
out here,
you know how the
street rule is, Barry?
I already know. He was out here in Sacramento doing the Stephon Clark shit, proclaiming he was going to help the city of Sacramento, the black community in Sacramento. Ain't seen Nick yet. In 2 years.
And you ain't gonna see Nick.
And I know, okay? You know what I'm saying? And I know. Because he's so busy kissing the ass of the Jewish folks that he pissed off. And the reality is he's still going to wear the turban. The reality is Negroes are still going to accept them. The reality is that this Negro, when he had the opportunity to show us, you know what, we don't have to kneel to nobody's power but our own. He basically said, I will kneel to a higher power. And that to me is the courage that I think our queen is talking about. The courage to be able to say, even in my most inconvenient and most uncomfortable times, I will stand by my truth. And Negroes do not stand by their truth.
Well, look, Barry, I just want to say, we talk about power matters. I'm saying you don't have to put it on the shirt. When he said that, the Jewish people power just showed up. Like, come on, people talk shit about black folks all the time. NAACP don't roll up on their ass like we're gonna they don't say that like, well, freedom of speech. He has a right to say that. Jews like you can say whatever you want to say about your own.
They get the check. They get the check. They get the check. They get the check to keep quiet. That's the thing about it. I mean, oftentimes they do. Like they already got a contract to say we have to have so many times when we talk about black folks and this and that. They struggling trying to keep themselves afloat. And that's the problem.
Maybe he should have kept his mouth shut and funded black people to get to work in. What about that? You spend that much on the strip club, but that's a whole other goddamn story.
The strippers need to work too, though, right?
I know. Yeah, but while they're tearing down the fiber of the United States, and then we're gonna blame her when her kid gets locked up and some shit. So I don't know. You can't win for losing with black folks. She says, we read that. I would say she said so like we may have had a Jewish president, and I get that because when you have white skin, you can change your name and be fine. When you're black, you can change your name and you still be a nigga. But Donald Trump's son, and I get it. I'm not. Jewish people are very strategic, but I just got to go back to what I know to be true. When they said never again, they meant that shit.
No, and sis,
through the decades, they meant that. They were like,
that's why, in every connective way to make sure never again happens, political, on the ground, in Hollywood, in the music industry. They made sure, and even in law enforcement, they made sure they are connected in any imaginable way.
So
they are the ones that don't have to be the president, that will make sure the president that they want becomes the president. And they'll be okay with just saying, we'll have mayors, we'll have senators, so we can always make it seem like our struggle is the same as everybody else. We're still,
you better look.
I'm just saying, we're still being overlooked. We're still being typecast. They're making it seem that the Jewish experience is still a struggle currently. That's far from
Barry, look, Barry. I agree. But listen, but this is the question you should be asking yourself. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but the question you should ask yourself: there was a time in America, say the 1900s and 1920s, somewhere, there was a sign that say no Jews, no dogs, no niggas. Yeah. What happened that the niggas have moved to the exact bottom of that list? The dogs, they good because people love their dogs, and Jews you just don't fuck with. What happened to us?
I think
that's what I'd like to know.
I think that because of the proximity of their skin, right? That Jews, Irish folks, they all got together. You know, we white. At the end of the day, this is what it is. They created.
They were made white. They were made white.
Yeah, they're made white. They can easily be a Jew and infiltrate in systems where we can be black and we're black. We like Negro, you're black. Like whoops. Like you know what I'm saying? We can't coat our skin.
Like
we
want races.
Yeah, like we can have a name that says Andrew John, like Andrew
Auschwitz
Jackson, right? Andrew Jackson, and we're gonna get a new white guy named Andrew Jackson, and we walk in, wait a minute, he's a Negro. Well, a Jew can do that, and they will never know. So I mean that has helped them evolve. But again, what we have done, we've struggled because we've tried to save everybody besides saving ourselves.
Yes, I think a lot of us are scared, Barry. We've had black people who passed for white. You think they got up there and looked out for us? They claimed that Abe Lincoln was of color.
They sure did. They sure did.
Hey, he didn't really free black people because he loved us. He was like, we cannot compete with the South because they had free labor.
It was about power.
Yeah, that's just about economics at the end of the goddamn day. But we still think this man freed our ass. Like, really, y'all.
So let me ask you a question, sis. If it was about economics, the whole thing was about power and economics, right? Like this whole situation. It's always been about power and economics. So why the hell would it not currently be the same thing? Like, where did people think it changed? I'm just saying, like, where if there was the whole thing started, power, economics, this was a whole growth, the whole birth, free labor, all these kind of different things. Where did people feel like, no, now it's about this? No, it's about police brutality. How the fuck did that change? Where?
Look, I can say this. It's always been about power, but it's also been about more than economical power. Because, first they had, this is what I learned, that it was about economics, of course, but then they realized economics don't work unless you have a permanent underclass. Like first, other white people were enslaved to white people. It was called servitude. Mm-hmm. But then they kept running away or blending into white people. So we got this ingenious idea of let's bring in the Africans. They're strong as hell, especially if they make that journey. We know they're strong as hell.
They smart as hell.
And they cannot pass for us. There's no way they can change their skin. I don't give a damn. So we know that for black folks, it's that piece. And some of us joined in on it. Don't get it twisted. Some of us, we like to hold the whip too now. We like to be up there with white people like, I'm going to have to administer justice. I'm the top cop, and we got to make sure we clean this up. But the person looks like you.
Special Negroes. We done said that. Special Negroes. We know who they are.
Wow. No, you're right. You're absolutely right, Barry. And J-Ron, I see a comment trying to post a comment. She said in Black History Moment, we need to focus on power and economics. Right on. She said in values, our core values will save our babies. I personally think, J-Ron, that's what the issue is. It's value. Because I've been in other countries where I've met black people. When our eyes locked, they took care of me because there was a sense of value that we were connected, and they needed to look out for me. That's the same thing.
That's why I'm saying, sis.
Share that because we have predators in the midst.
Value system, sister. That's why I've been saying a system that we have lack of. That's what I'm saying. The value system. Let's go direct. Niggas don't want to address the value system. Why address that? Why are we gonna address the value system? Like when I address a bunch of bum ass niggas being deadbeats, this is what a nigga gonna tell me. Well, I'm a good father. Nigga, I wasn't addressing you. You know what I'm saying? I'm addressing a deadbeat ass nigga.
But at some point, they must not have been. Because we love to do the we at the wrong damn time. When we say we need you to report for duty, cricket. Man. But if I say black people ain't this, then it's like, now you're talking about all of us. Dude, wait, which one is it? Why can't you show up for duty?
And you know why they can't. There's no value system. And a value system is like, dear sister, please don't go out there and get your head cracked with these bunch of white boys. We're on foreign land. I can't really bring a weapon because if I bring a weapon, I damn near get pulled over. Just don't go there for the war. We don't need to do that right now. I'm going to go out there anyway and then turn around and say, where's the black man to protect me, huh? What do you like? Where's the value system for my own? Like, you ain't got no value for me, so you want me to go out there and have me strung up by a goddamn fucking tree by these 6-ass white boys coming to their shit? Where's the value?
Don't you want to be a martyr, though? Barry? Because, black folks, you think you're the most disliked popular guy now. If you got lynched or killed by the police, you'd be famous. You'd be dead, so you wouldn't be able to enjoy it. But shit, your name would still be here.
It says, listen, something happened to me by any white man, any police. I want you to make sure them niggas who don't like me now, you give them motherfucking hell. Understand me? Please give them mother effing hell. Right? Don't love me now because I'm gone and I'm a martyr because of whatever. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to live a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? My
love you in death.
Black people. September 12th. Black Food Fest. Unapologetically, we are building on black economics. September 12th, black folks who are on here. We are saying we need to do for self. They just had the Christian let us pray event at the Capitol, and it was 1,000 white people with masks, not caring, praying to their white baby Jesus. We're saying, come with your mask, let's social distance, but let's help power our economics. Javon said something perfect. Yes, it's the system is not about white folks because the system, the value system doesn't have nothing to do with white folks. You're definitely correct. I'm talking about the value system of our own, and that has to do a lot about us. And I don't feel like we take the opportunities for us to have a pandemic right now. And there's that many babies, that many black women dying across the country in black communities by black people. I'm sorry, Negroes. These niggas this ain't the KKK killing us. I know a lot of niggas want to do the conspiracy theory that.
You better go ahead.
I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I just know that niggas love to do Negro shit, especially during this time. And I'm not saying in some places police ain't getting busy, because I do believe they are. But in a lot of these cases, it's pretty much, we know the defined situation. In this heightened sense of urgency, Negroes will always be less valued. And then for us to be valued, we have to have value within ourselves. And I don't think people like hearing that. And I'm definitely a person that's mass destroy systems. But how can you destroy a system when you don't even value your own system within ourselves? You can't, because you don't even know how to create a system with value, because we don't have it in our own communities. And that's not saying everyone, but that's just saying a collective of us are not being able to create that and identify with that in a way where we can really move blocks. We can really change the dynamics of what we're dealing with on an everyday basis in this society. These are things that we just often don't want to address because it's so easy to point at police brutality. It's so easy to point at the next person that ain't taking care of his 5 kids, but you remember you didn't take care of your first kid. You might be doing good with your second and third. There's no value when we say, well, what's going on with black women? Well, shit, the black women should have put themselves in a position. What? Now, if a black woman is not calling to be attacked, how the hell did she put herself in a position? Where are the brothers saying, hey, brother, you can't do that to my sister? Because I remember back in the day, I wasn't even dating a girl. Matter of fact, I knew her older brother. And I was like, girl, listen, leave me alone. Your older brother's crazy. Mind you, girl kept on coming after me. And I didn't do nothing with her. Her older brother still approached me on some rah-rah shit. Like, yo, Negro, leave my sister alone. I was like, yo, brother. And that's the kind of shit that don't happen.
Right.
I mean, the brother did it before me and her. I'm like, hey, brother, I was afraid to deal with her because of the brother. And that's not what we have. I mean, I hear everybody talking to me about, looking at that new TV show, P-Valley. It's so epic. And then I heard one of my partners, my homegirl sat there and said, and broke down the movie, the show, the sitcom. And I was like, well, that's where our value systems are at.
Wait,
so
I haven't even seen it.
Well, it's a lot of stuff. And I guess the value system of, showing, I guess, a heterosexual straight guy being on the down low, but he's gangster, sleeping with,
We love fantasy, but don't want to deal with reality. But go ahead.
No, I believe that's a lot of reality. The strippers and all that. I think that our value system has been convoluted by so many of these things that it's not realistic. And then this becomes a point to where, we fall into these fantasies. Like, that's not all black people, y'all. Like, that's not all black people.
Because that's not everybody's reality. But see, some of us are the people who love to live in the gutter, but then talk about they don't let him up on the payment. You don't let yourself up on the payment. There was a time, Barry, if you did shit like that, you didn't tell nobody because you was like maybe doing it to get through school because you were trying to get to the respectable place in your life, but you were in the gutter because that's where maybe you were born into the gutter, I don't know, and you were trying to lift yourself up. We're really trying to act like the gutter is where we all need to be. Something's wrong with that, Barry.
That's crazy.
And so one of the things I learned from watching Schindler's List and those kind of, I hate to keep bringing the Jews, that in order for Hitler to kill all those Jews, he had to get everybody else to agree that these people were nothing. And now we do that. It ain't this other group making us devalue ourselves. It's us. We don't want to have an excuse for every time we're not stepping up. There's an excuse why we murder each other. There's an excuse why we disrespect each other. There's an excuse why our kids aren't performing well at school. There's an excuse for every goddamn thing, for you not being a dad, for you not being a mom, for you not having, there's always a damn excuse. Meanwhile, the rest of the world get to be like, we really don't need this shit. Go ahead and annihilate them. We'll sit here and watch the shit and have popcorn or whatever. Like, we don't even understand. We don't even know how to look at other group stories and be like, that could be us. So as they kill us down in the street, the rest of the world don't give a shit because we seem like a problem. We seem like we just can't get our shit together. We can't even respect each other because that's what that was all about. In order for you to kill a bunch of people, you have to get the whole world to sign on like they really are a problem. They really are a problem. I've been in groups with other people who are black from other countries. They don't understand black Americans. They really don't understand why they don't take advantage of their benefits. And I don't really give a fuck about the systematic shit that's happened to us, Barry, because our ancestors flew over all that shit. And they didn't have none of the stuff that we have now. They didn't have any of this. So what's our problem, Barry? Like, why can't we just do the right thing? Why do we have to glorify a stripper? Why is a stripper representing us talking to a presidential candidate? What's going on?
It's pop culture.
That's the kind of shit that make you be like, I ain't fucking with black people. I'm gonna go over here and work on my group. I don't give a fuck what's going on over here because I can't save these niggas over here. They don't even want to listen to. They don't even want to study. They don't even want to pick up the user guide and be like, well, let me just look at some of this shit so I can see some of what made me. At some point, you be like, they're gonna have to just die off in the wilderness because I can't fuck with it. I can't. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Muhammad. I'm not any of those people. So if they can't fuck with them and get them right, I definitely can't do shit. But keep working over here with the people who want to get the work in. That's all I can do because I can't do that other shit, Barry. It's exhausting fucking with black people. It's exhausting. I love us. I do. God, Lord knows I do. I feel like the color purple. Lord knows I do. But I am sick of Negroes. I really am. I'm sick of the excuses. And we come from a people who couldn't even afford to have an excuse.
They got whipped for it.
Right.
They got killed for it. They got raped for it.
Look.
I mean, well, that's the thing about it.
Have to start fucking up black men that disrespect women and elders, period. That is the only way we're going to get change and accountability. Javon, look, I'm from Philly. There's always been mobsters. I was going to say Muslims because I know some of the black guerrilla family, a lot of them was Muslims or the black, but they live by a code. And if you fuck with the code, you got dealt with. And so street elements of when we had code, it made sense. When they say you don't fuck with elders. You go on somewhere and see an elder, like, nope, you got back out of there. You don't fuck with children. Now we violated all of that. All of that has been violated. And we have an excuse for why people do shit like that. Why people molest children. Why people do all kind of unscrupulous shit. Black folks have an excuse for it. And that's why at some point we're going to get annihilated because we're basically lining ourselves up for it. And the world will agree. And we can't even get mad about it because the world will agree. So how do we repair it? We got more programs to help you repair. It ain't the repair, it's your accountability. I'm talking about in terms of the people. You can take us through rehab and all that, but if you're sick and you don't want to get well, then you have to go. Because we're trying to go somewhere. I'm from a people, I don't know where you from. I'm from a people that, who laid their bodies down for their children for generations they were never going to see. Most people want to live with their sickness. Most people don't want to lay themselves down. They want to still be here wreaking havoc. They don't want to do that. So what do we do with y'all? She said in the day our community centers were the heartbeat of our community, that we got to go for reinforcement of our core values. When I was coming up, we didn't have community centers. And I grew up in South Sac. So we didn't, that San Pernell Community Center, they used to be a supermarket. So I didn't have that, and I grew up in Meadowview. But what I did have was people on my block who respected us enough to let us play in the street peacefully. You know what I mean?
I think that a lot of what a lot of the core really was churches back in the day, to be honest with you. And again, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying that but I'm saying that
I didn't really go to church like that, but I get it.
But as well, but that was the core of a lot of the good fruit. But again, you lose value in that as well. And I think that when we talk about repairing, there's got to be a lot of internal repair. And I think that it all starts in the household. Just when you reflect, you learn how to raise your child or those who are around you in a very very valued, purpose way, to live with integrity, to, be able to allow those young children to be in connection with their emotions. Not like, I think that a lot of times what we do, a lot of Black communities, families, because I lived in that kind of household that like I had to really, I wasn't able to express the emotions I was feeling. Like, how that was. You get beat, they tell you, keep quiet or I'm gonna really give you something to cry about. It's like, God damn, is it gonna be worse than this? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like to express yourself as a child. And there's an appropriate time too, but never was able to find that emotional balance. And I liked oftentimes when me and my daughter have gotten into situations, I always go back reviewing what happened. And that didn't happen in my household. It wasn't a review session kind of figuring out. It was kind of like what was said. And some of that stuff was good. And some of that stuff kind of was bad, especially as the world was evolving, where you couldn't really just do that and just think your kid was going to just step in line because other parenting systems had changed as well. You weren't going to have Miss Sally come out and reprimand you. You was going to have Mr. George doing the same thing. Kind of like some of those folks were now opening the door to say, well, you can behave the way you want to behave and feel free. So I think that, again, everything falls into how do we create a value system at home What are the core values that me and my boy always talk about? What are our core values? Like, what do we stand on? What do we die on? And I don't think that we have that. And if we continually try to oppose a system and sometimes not operate in the dark like the Jews did, be chameleons like they were, be chameleons like the Asian immigrants. I talked to an Asian brother of mine, and he had told me, well, Barry, it wasn't that I didn't want to have a job in America. America, because of my English wasn't good, wouldn't allow me to have, so I created my own. It's like, and then you know what I did? I made sure me and my wife, we worked so hard to where now I have two college students that graduated from Berkeley. One is going to be a doctor, and the other is going to be a dentist. It's like that planned formality of making sure you turn an obstacle into an opportunity is stuff that these folks are doing. They're breeding, right? They're breeding what they want to see for the next generation, where all we're doing, I believe most of us are trying to come up with that one lottery ticket, and then boom, here's that lottery ticket. We're millionaires, we're rich, but we're not wealthy. So we're not ready to pass it on to the next generation. So instead of passing on dysfunction and generational curses, we have to start passing down generational values, generational wealth, like ideas, understanding, like introducing our children to entrepreneurship, even though they may not want to follow that route. But eventually, a lot of us, we come to that route towards the end of our experience when you work for a lot of folks. I mean, a lot of us who we worked for people, and we found out what? Working for people really wasn't freedom. And we created our own. And I think for me, that right there by itself has me as an idea builder, you as an ideal builder, revolutionary builders, because we won't really stand for being puppets in a game of puppeteers, because it's just for me, it devalues my creativity when I can go be in a group of people, they take my ideas, run with it, and I get like little to no credit. And I'm not going to shape my life like that. I'd rather take the entrepreneur route and do things with my own, get less, but I'm more happy in the place that I'm in.
Right on. I agree with you, Barry. I feel like definitely what you said makes sense for some people. Some of us come from people who did all the stuff you just said. I had an uncle who I just buried, worked for the post office for 55 years and has several different businesses that he ran on the side. There's Black people in America who've done all that you said because they have been in America so long. After slavery, they knew how to work for themselves. They knew how to garden for themselves. We've always had some sort of garden in our family. I don't know why I was so afraid of having a garden, which I got zucchini coming up down in my garden. But anyway, so we've done all that. I think now we're trying to make the next leap to real self-governance. So you could govern yourself inside of America. It's possible because we've been doing it the whole time. But sometimes when we buy into the ideal of whiteness, when we're trying to achieve what white people have and have no value for yourself, that's where we are right now. Because we've done every job in America you can think of. In my family, learning my history, we had so many entrepreneurs back in the day. Like, and even people now still have their own businesses. So this is not a new ride. It's not a new rodeo. But what the difference is that to keep that self-love and having some characteristics and some value points and really being appreciative for your ancestry. Most of us are running away from that because we think it's so horrible. But what's horrible is the fact that you can't even stand in your own root. You can't even appreciate your root. And that's why you have no value. You're never going to see a tree standing without a root. Not possible. A tree can never stand without a root. Never. So there is no invisible root. Every tree we walk outside right now, it is attached to a root. It can't stand. A branch can't stand without a trunk that's attached to a root. So I feel like a lot of this stuff now, Barry, is on you. It's on yourself. You know what I mean? We live in an age of information. You can get on the internet. I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've seen stuff and felt so disturbed by it, I knew I had to do something. And myself, if I didn't like the way somebody was treating me, I would be like, Lon, you can't do this again. Just tell them no. Next time comes, I may do the same thing and then be mad at myself and be like, nope, I'm not gonna do that again. Then about the third time, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going that route because I remember that feeling and I don't like it. And I want to do something different. And it don't mean I don't love you, but because I love me more, that means I'm not gonna do that no more. See, all of us have what's called free will, to be honest with you. So when we give our will away to people because of whatever this temptation is, no, that's you giving in to your own desire. It ain't them. You can say no. Now, somebody forcing you to do something, that's one thing. That's why I say my ancestors were enslaved. But to be a slave, that's some shit you doing on your own free will. You don't really have to do the shit. Most of us have wants. We doing shit we want to do, not because we have to do it. The shit you have to do, you fight that even more. When you could have just did the shit and been on to the next thing. But we don't do that, Barry. We do a lot of like, well, it's the system, and all of us grew up in the system at some point. If you're in America, my grandparents was in foster care. My dad was in foster care. We didn't even have a goddamn foster care. Him and his siblings, they was in an orphanage. So it's kind of like, but they still got their ass up and did something. And they didn't have nothing to work with in terms of inheritance, or they didn't have none of that. So do I get to have an excuse? Hell no. Because they made it when they didn't have nothing to fall back on. They got out there and got it together. Did they all live together? Yes, they did. Most of us can't even afford to live with our own siblings because we hate them so much. Instead of like, because that's what other groups do, Barry. Some of them live together. I remember we had a family that came up from the South in Philly. They lived with us for 6 months, and it was tight. Because they had like 6 kids, and we had 6 kids. But everybody, the adults, like all went to work. I mean, it was awesome. So I remember doing that. So if they could do that, and that was back in 1970, and they didn't have we had one car, which was a station wagon. So you had to make 2 trips. I mean, come on. What's our excuse? Now, we doing some illegal shit, we get this figured out. Because when you're doing illegal shit, there's a level of fear that you got to do the shit. You can't tell the person you selling drugs for, man, I'm not going to be able to report to work today. Your ass is on the corner. You was making the drop. So when we do shit illegally, we get shit done. But when we're doing shit righteously, we got 50 million excuses to why we can't complete the mission. I don't understand that, Barry. But that's just me.
I mean,
we got 3 minutes. Wrap it up, Barry, because I just can't.
Oh man! I mean, again.
Sister, I see your comment. I'm so sorry. She's saying, "Hold on, Barry. Okay. I'm in a group. And it's so sad to hear a young lady say, I don't have. Everybody has ancestors. I don't have elders. I can see that. How do I teach respect for elders in the community if they don't have a connection? It's not necessarily a connection of which we think it is. You know, I see one of the things I do because I work with young people. I always talk about history and what was happening in the time so they can understand what people have come through. You don't have to have a direct elder. I travel all over the place, and elders, they take care of me. At least that's been my thing. All of us have ancestors. So even if you never knew them, you still can connect with them because they're in you. You're a part of their line. You was a part of them before you were yourself. But that takes work. That takes study. You know what I mean? That takes you having compassion. That's like being on the bus. And if an elder got on the bus, immediately I would get up and give them my seat. Immediately. Because I know that person's seen days I will never see. So I have to get, because I'm young. That's what that means. It don't mean you're abusing young people. No. It's a line of respect. But also, I'm from old school. If we had a little bit of food, I would feed the babies first. Then I would feed the elder, and then maybe I would eat. But see, all of that comes from culture and value. But you can still rediscover it. It's not lost. It's only lost because you ain't trying to find it.
And I think that, yeah, no, but I know, and I agree. And I think that what you have to do is you have to teach them. And then the unfortunate part about a lot of our young people, they don't have elders to look up to in the way they used to. So you're going to have to align them with folks that are currently doing a lot of positive things. I mean, send them to our page. You know what I'm saying? Say, here's some of your elders. Here's some of the folks that represent you. Here's some of your ancestors. I mean, look at the current folks that are doing a lot of great work with these young people, outside of doing work with young people, just doing great work in general. And then there's plenty of the ancestors that I feel like it's up to us to teach our young kids. We're doing a tutoring program that starts September 16th. And guess what? Some of that the first 15 minutes is going to be talking about history, culture, the folks that kids are going to be in attendance. This is going to be like, yo, this is who you were and this is where you come from. Because we have to start with us giving that information, even though it may not be taught in the household. Because oftentimes what folks have to remember, we come from a place, not all of us, but it's been designed for us to come from a place of begging, struggle, or need. And when you come from that, folks ain't got time to do all of the work, like the work of doing the investigating on who you are. Like that's kind of like that's like kind of work that you do on vacation, because they're too busy trying to survive. So if we have that mentality of survival mode, more or less than striving, trying to make our genius even more ingenious, I feel like we're always going to be stuck in this kind of dilemma. And this is why we don't often address the core values of what we feel Black people need to do to repair the things that are broken. Not the things that a system broke, but some of the things that we allow the system to break or we've broken ourselves. So with that being said, remember September 12th, Black Friday Coalition presents Black Food Fest is going down September 12th from 12 p.m., 7 p.m. Retail vendors, food vendors, vegan vendors, the whole Gambit entertainment. Please come out, show our Black power, and we will be with you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, Earth Mama Network. Please share, please like, and peace and happiness, family.
Peace, fam.